Hello and welcome to the DJ Force 10 in Conversation podcast, episode 157. My very special guests on today's show are Jack and Ryan from the band On Hollow Ground. Messed up their band name at the start of the interview. I left it in there. Just to give you a heads up, but no, it was a great chat. Literally, just got off the phone with them half an hour ago. Again, I'm loving sort of doing these on the fly and getting them out straight away. But yeah, we talk about their new single. It's called Our Lives. And they've got a brand new album out in July called Blood is Blood. So keep an eye out for that. It's an absolutely fantastic track. And they've actually got a bunch of stuff out as well, because they've been going since 2013. And yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff on the streaming services. So go check it out. If you like kind of like metalcore sort of stuff, go for it. It's fantastic. What I've heard, absolutely brilliant. And it was a great chat as well, which is also very good. On that front. So I hope you guys enjoy the interview. I'm going to do my sort of slightly adapted midweek plea for ratings on on iTunes and stuff. But what I actually want to do is actually push my YouTube channel. I'm over the past sort of month, I've been uploading these shows to YouTube, and yeah, it's been getting a good response. It's getting picked up and stuff. So I'm looking to get some subscribers, which isn't too much to ask, hopefully. But if you've got a YouTube account and you want to sort of keep up to date with what I'm doing, because it's not just this that I put up there. I've also got the video podcast that I did with Mike and Ming of Comic Book Men, and also my 365 days of Scratch that I did last year. That's all up there as well, and also some little nuggets of Zero Cypher days up on there as well. So, but I intend to sort of start doing a bit more visual content and things like that. So if you're interested, please just go hit subscribe on that channel. I'll be very grateful for that, and yeah, even like some of the videos if you want to. You don't have to do that, but I'm just looking to get the subscriber count up, just to sort of make myself feel better about myself, you know what I mean? No, not really. But no, if you are a YouTube user and you do have an account, please do subscribe to my channel. It is youtube.com/DJForceX. That's DJFORCEX. And yeah, you just have a browse of the channel and stuff if you want. There's quite a few bits and bobs on there, all of different styles and whatnot. But yeah, please do that if you can. But without much further ado, I give you Jack and Ryan from On Hollow Ground. Enjoy. I'd like to welcome to my show today. I have Jack and Ryan from the band On Hollow Ground. Oh, sorry, On Hollow. Is it Hollow or Hollow? Hollow. Let me do that again. It's the most.
We've had this a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. So On Hollow Ground. There we go. Got that right. Kind of. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us, mate.
Hi. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So what I want to do, because it's kind of, I have heard of you guys before, a little while ago. I think it was off one of your EPs. You did, I heard the track, it was Shut Down. I think it was last year. Was that
that's right.
2.0. I DJ metal clubs, rock clubs and stuff like that. So I've played you guys in there before.
Cool.
Down South Way, and yeah, no, what I want to do is kind of get a bit of the origin story of your band, really, if that's all right to start with, just sort of to set the scene, if you will. But yeah, so what sort of where have you been so far?
Do you want to go first, Ryan?
I'll let you start if you want.
Okay. So basically, all five of us were just playing in different bands, and we were kind of just a bit dissatisfied in the sort of place we were. In all the other bands we were in, people just weren't sort of, pulling their weight commitment-wise, other band members in our previous projects.
Yeah.
And we just sort of thought to ourselves, you know what, why stick with these bands that we're in currently and, not really feel creatively fulfilled? So we decided that we just, band together and hopefully create something that was cohesive and actually went somewhere, actually churned out content, because I know, speaking for myself, that I was with that band for maybe 2 years, and the amount of stuff that we churned out compared to On Hollow Ground is just, like pales in comparison. I don't know what it is for Ryan, but obviously you weren't actually in a band at the time, were you? You're the only one who was
not in a band at the time. I'd been out of the band for about 2 years. Then I got chatting to you at a show, didn't I? I said, I'm thinking of a project. I know you're already in a band, but I like your stuff, because out of all the kind of vocalists that I've played with in the past, you're probably one of my favourites for some reason.
He is.
I put a couple of demos and sent them to Jack, and he was digging it, so we went from there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Cool. And how long you guys been going?
2013, July, we had our first practice, and then around about December, we had one of our first shows, and then put out the first EP, Gears in Motion, around about that time as well.
Yeah, cool. So you guys have been kicking around for a little while, and like sort of to bring us like fully up to date, you've got a new single out right now called Our Lives, and why don't we tell us about that?
Yep. So it's the first track of our upcoming album, Blood is Blood. A couple of tracks that we've released in the past year as well are also going on the album. So we've got Broken, which was released, and then we had Shutdown, and then Shutdown 2.0, which we might use as a bonus track. But yeah, Our Lives is the kind of first song on that album. Lyrically, it's probably better for you to talk about, really, Jack, seeing as you're the lyricist.
Yeah, well, the entire album, it's based around grief and the relationship that I had with my late father. We had quite a tumultuous relationship, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And this track in particular sort of focuses on his passing and all the grief that came with it. One of the most prominent lines in it is, "Now you're gone." And I'm not talking about bass on that. Now you're gone. This life goes on. And that just summed up everything for me. One day I was just so down, obviously, and in just like in a real depressive state, and I just those words just came to me, and I just thought, you know what, it's time to pick up the pieces, and it's trying to make something good out of an awful situation. And I'm just so proud that that track is came out the way it did.
Yeah.
To where, I've been able to take this horrible situation and probably put out some of the best vocal takes I feel I've ever done, and like rawest, and just to be able to create a track that, I'm sure Ryan can fill in there, but I don't know about you, Ryan, but I feel like it's one of our strongest tracks we've ever done. Yeah,
definitely. It was kind of...
It's just raw, man.
Yeah, a lot of the album was kind of written as a bit of fun, like trying to look at what in metalcore is popular at the minute, but also having a bit of a laugh with it as well.
Yeah.
And I think this one was probably the most written for purpose, because when I started writing it, I was like, right, going to design this to be a single. It's going to have the catchy chorus, and we put a female vocal in there over the bridge as well, just to give it something that we've not actually tried doing before. Turned out really well, so we put on another track as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know, the dynamics of the track, I just tried to make it kind of like a pop structure, but with heavy metalcore instrumentation.
Yeah, I was going to say, listening to some of your sort of like back catalogue, you do have that mix of styles in there, where you have taken from, like, obviously you're probably influenced by various sort of like other like genres away from metal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you sort of guide your influences from? I mean, I've heard like from previous ones, I've heard like the sort of like more like rap side of things, and I think they call it grime these days, don't they? That's a bit of a recent addition to our kind of stylistic choice, isn't it? Like, before it was mainly just straight up metalcore, you kind of heavy, low tuned kind of stuff. But I don't know, as of recent, I've just been listening to a lot more different styles. I've kind of like been shying away from metal in the past year. And even before that, like, I still listen to it a lot because it's what I enjoy writing. But like
Yeah, I've noticed that my writing style has kind of changed a little bit. And I think, as you said, it's because of listening to a lot more like rap music and pop music and stuff like that. So it's...
I think that's something that, I'd just like to add in there, Ryan. Sorry to cut you off. Like, our live shows as well, they always had like real attitude to them, the sort of like the R&B and like the hip hop and stuff, generally does on CD. And we never felt like we really actually like achieved that attitude and that live rawness that we do live on CD. And we just thought that this would be a nice way of really capturing that.
No, it's really cool. I mean, I really dig when bands like yourselves dig from other parts of the music industry, if you will, and incorporate it into like the metal sound. I was when I was younger, I was in a band. I was part of the sort of like UK nu metal movement at the time, which was very highly infused of like hip hop and well, the rest. I was that element of hip hop. I was the scratch DJ in the said band.
Oh yeah.
So
DJ Lethal.
Kinda. But yeah, no. So I've always like gravitated towards bands that can incorporate those sort of genres. So you got things like you guys, you got like Hacktivist, you've got Imur, you've got like of the modern bands I'm sort of talking about now, sort of taking from those other influences and really making it work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's that kind of ballpark that we're aiming to be a part of. Is because it just adds a little bit more, as Jack said, a bit more attitude and a bit more edge to your music. Yeah. So when you're performing it live, it's easier to get into a bit of a character while you're doing it. Yeah,
no, that's really good. It kind of like harks back to the Attitude Era, if you were, if you're a wrestling fan, which is kind of...
I completely am, so I get what you're talking about there.
Okay, good, because it goes hand in hand with nu metal at that point. So it's, it kind of, that's what it kind of like, and I still gravitate to that sound now, because that's what I didn't say I grew up in, but that was what I was very much a part of. And I still enjoy today. So it was really cool actually like hearing you guys, and that's why I wanted you on the show, because I was like, I really dig this sound. So
thanks, mate. Well, I mean, I come straight from that as well. I mean, I feel like it's taken me a while to get back to those roots, but the first stuff I listened to were Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, and as you know, those are two bands that fuse genres like crazy. And I feel like I wish I'd have sort of gone back to that, and sort of channeled that much earlier than we actually did. But I feel like, it's all come full circle, and I'm sort of doing the music that initially got me into heavier stuff.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like it's a weird like rule of cool at some point, because it goes off the boil, if you will. That nu metal definitely did. It went out of fashion, if you will.
Yeah.
But you always end up coming back round to it, because I went through a phase of kind of, again, not so much like listening to it, but not writing it, not having that kind of like mentality for it. But I've come back in again. I've with sort of like getting back into like the DJ side of things, which I was sort of doing then, the sort of scratch DJing. It's really kind of like rekindled my flame for that particular genre.
Yeah, sometimes there's just something which just you hear a new band or something, because you get a little bit, if you kind of sleep, eat and breathe a certain style, it gets a bit boring, and then sometimes you'll hear a band which will get you back into it again, or hear a song or something. But like I was going to say, most of the kind of earlier heavy music that you got into, Jack's, for wrestling, isn't it? Like a lot of the rockier stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So kind of played a big
Linkin Park, all of it.
Yeah.
Nice. You still watching wrestling now?
Not so much anymore. I do tune in off, now and then. I've sort of started tuning into AEW just for the alternative. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, on and off. I had a subscription to the network for a good few years. I stopped it about a year ago, just purely because I wasn't using it anymore.
Right.
I'd sort of run its course. But no, I still keep in sort of touch with that sort of side of things. Watch a bit of AEW here and there. Bit of still on like, oh god, what's it called? Is it Major League? I think Major League Wrestling.
Oh, MLW.
Yeah, MLW. Just stuff like that, just sort of like the away from the sort of like the big shows, if you will. But I lived in the States for 5 years, and I lived in what actually is the mecca of wrestlers, apparently, which was Tampa, Florida, and so I got to meet some of these guys, which was really cool. Like Chris Jericho and John Cena.
My all-time favourite.
I'm going to say Jack.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy it. I just haven't had the network for a while. But I sort of like I'm sure I'll go back to it at some point. I always tend to.
It's just like you said with the music, isn't it? It's all cyclical. You go through themes.
Yeah, no, definitely. How's to sort of like talk about the big old elephant in the room, but how's the lockdown been for you guys? Because obviously you got an album coming out next month now. How's planning for that been with everything kind of like not being able to gig, if you will?
It's in a weird way, it's been a bit of a blessing and a curse. Because we can't play shows, which is a bit of a nightmare. And I don't know about you, Jack, but I'm missing it like mad.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, we've realised that video calling each other on Zoom is a lot more productive when it comes to planning than being sat in my living room. Because there's no distractions there, so we've got quite a lot of planning and a lot of like kind of release material queued up. And when we've released our lives, we've been able to actually, do a little bit more marketing than we usually do because we're sat in his houses. So
I feel really fortunate as well that we had all that material in the can, to use an old term, and especially the music video as well, because a few friends got in touch and they were saying how lucky we were not to have to film a lockdown video for promo and have to do some webcam shit.
Yeah, it's a good job, and that we queued it all up beforehand.
Yeah, for sure.
The only problem we've run into is we'd paid to have 2 videos shot. Okay. We did the first one, and it was 3 in total, wasn't it? There was 2 full length and then 1 which is a kind of shorter song. So we filmed 2 in a night, and then for the single release number 2, we've not been able to film it because we've not been able to leave the house. So luckily, we've got some up his sleeve for anyway, which we've had queued up anyway, just to sort of down a little bit. But yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare because I was really looking forward to releasing that song as well.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. I mean, I've been quite a fortunate position, like I am right now, speaking to musicians like yourself, and because everyone's at home. But I was just, I'm really sort of like curious of how like you guys have adapted on that, because I've been through. Well, I've never been through anything like this, obviously, but like I know the process of releasing like music albums, the sort of lead time you have on it, the stuff you have to do, the sort of like bits you wait, like interviews and whatnot are part of it, but all the admin side of it that kind of you always used to get like pushed under the carpet. Have you guys learned anything like new from this?
I think, Ryan kind of hit it on the head a little bit there, but it's just, like you said, anytime we'd get together to, to focus on an idea or to, come up with something, it'd always be around at his house. We'd have a pizza there. We'd have the TV on. We'd be distracted. People would be scrolling on their phones. Whereas now we're in our houses and we're on our laptops on our own, bored, and we're able to really get down to the nitty gritty. We've done wonders for ourselves in terms of the advertising side of it. We've really been able to use all this time. With the exception of Ryan. Ryan's been the only person who's had to work through the majority of lockdown. So thankfully, the rest of us have been able to, really man that front. And Ryan's been pulling double duty as well and working really hard and looking into all of the projects. It's just given us time, and we really appreciate that, because had it all gone ahead as planned, we'd have all been working full time and juggling everything and probably, dropping a plate somewhere along the line. Yeah.
No, that's what I found with a lot of the guys I've spoken to, that having the concentration on it, and it's also a realization of what maybe was left to one band member before, or the management side of it, and sort of opened their eyes to that, but made the band a bit more of a cohesive unit when it comes to when they release stuff and the sort of importance of certain things, which has been really cool to sort of find out and stuff, because and like I said, no one's been in this position before, and the best analogy I think people come up with is building a plane in flight. when it's kind of come to doing stuff. So
I guess so.
Yeah, no, but it's been really cool. I mean, I look forward to hearing you guys' album. Obviously, I've only heard Our Lives off the new LP. But it is out next month for people that are listening. 17th of July. Is that still the planned date for it?
It is, yeah.
Awesome, cool. Was there any sort of temptation to postpone it or anything like that, or were you sort of dead on sort of keeping it on a certain date or anything like that?
We had the thought, but we'd already basically started a plan with our PR agent. So we had a bit of a chat with him about it. We were just we're like, do we want to release it now? And we'd already knocked the plan together. We'd already started releasing material, and he was basically saying, he was like, now's probably the best time to do it because they're going to be, secluded to their own home, looking for new music to listen to. So, it can go one or two ways. But as we discussed with Gary anyway, and we said we're going to go through with it. The only setback is that we can't do an album release show until later on when they're definitely going ahead. Like, we've got a few bookings for later this year, which we're not 100% on. We will be able to play. But, it's just, at the minute, we're all in the same boat. Just kind of waiting to see.
Away.
Yeah. No, I found that there's been a few guys that I've spoken to that have postponed their releases and stuff, but I have actually found this time really, really good for listening to music. Because whereas I'm sort of like kind of hard, I was like working from home, but working. But it gave me a lot more time to sort of like sink into a lot of the music I was being sent from press agents like your guy. And actually fully appreciate the whole package of stuff. And whereas before, obviously I'd be working, like out of the house, and I'd get home, I'd be tired, or I'd have the music on in the car, but then I'm sort of like not really concentrating on it as such. I don't have that immersive kind of feel in my car, like when I'm driving to work, because I'm thinking about work. But no, I found this time. Yeah, no, I found this time absolutely brilliant for, and when people have released new stuff, it's been great because I can actually appreciate it more. I feel, from a sort of like listening point of view, because normally I'd be listening out for like the one that gets the most traction, like singles wise, because when I DJ the club, those are the ones that people have heard. And a lot of the time, a lot of bands, unfortunately, that I've discovered really good tracks of go unplayed in my club, if you will. But whereas I get sent like stuff like, it's like for your stuff, for instance, we'll get a play in the club once it reopens, because I've discovered it, and I enjoy giving people the ears to hearing new music, because that's the way they'll come up to me, ask who it is, or ask, or they'll see the playlist afterwards or something like that, and that's what I wanted to do, because normally, I mean, later in the night, people have a few drinks, they want to regress. We always go back to the new metal era.
Definitely.
You have to. But that early night when people are coming in, milling in, meeting their friends, all that stuff, getting their drinks, you want to give them new music. That's what you want to do. And I've been.
Remember... Oh, sorry.
No. So I was just saying, I've been guilty of not doing that so much, But now I've got like an arsenal of songs, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, I mean, like, I remember, when me and Ryan first, like, sort of hooked up and started doing all this stuff, we'd go to the Cockpit, and an old venue in Leeds that's closed down a couple of years ago, and they used to have, DJ sets and everything. And the stuff that you'd hear in there that you'd never heard before, especially, like you say, at the start of the night. Later on, towards the end, it was all your Linkin Parks and all that, and Killswitch. But I remember hearing like Bury Tomorrow, Lionheart in there, and just being like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!"
No, it's really cool. I mean, I've haven't been to Leeds for the longest time, to be honest with you. I'm trying to.
Where are you?
I'm down in Surrey, sort of just like about 30 miles south of London. But
cool.
I'm pretty much. I'm trying to think of the venues I've played in Leeds. We're talking like 15 years ago, so I'm like trying to.
The Packhorse? The Well?
The Well rings a bell.
There's the Library as well?
No, not the no. I can't. I'm sure it will come to me in a moment. But no, I had a few good nights up in Leeds, so it's a nice area. How have you guys found it, like scene wise?
I really like it. Yeah, like Jack was saying, we used to go to Cockpit all the time, but that's been closed down. That was like a landmark of Leeds, was that? Yeah, it comes in waves as the Leeds scene, but you generally find if you're a sociable enough person, you'll be fine, because like there's a venue called the Key Club now, which is kind of in place of the Cockpit, which was the kind of usual meeting point for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think, when did that shut down, Jack? Was it about 4 years ago? 5 years ago?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, about 5 years ago. So now we go for nights out there and stuff, and then like, you know, you see people from other bands and you get chatting and stuff, and that's generally how you get your kind of Leeds following going.
Nice.
And tactically picking bands which have a lot of friends in Leeds to support you and stuff like that, and then, you know, we all help each other out, kind of thing.
Because when we've played our like big hometown shows and stuff, you know, you look out in the crowd and, oh, there's the Mechanist, there's Isolate, there's, you know, here sort of thing that I'm failing right now, but, you know, like we all turn out and support each other, so it's a pretty communal scene anyway. It's very supportive. Some nice people on the scene.
No, it's really cool. It's sort of bits are coming back to me now. I mean, I did play the Cockpit. I think I played like the second room. I think, did it have multiple rooms?
That's the best one, I thought.
Yeah, the best one. Yeah,
okay,
I played.
Cool.
Fun.
Yeah, we played a couple of, like, when we were on tour and stuff, played up there, and I seem to remember it had multiple rooms though. So it was that, and
there was the big room, the second room, and then the upstairs, which was like the smallest one.
Yeah, because we played, I think, on the same sort of tours. We played the Corporation in Sheffield as well.
I've not played,
and that had multiple rooms.
Still yet to play.
Yeah,
everyone's telling me it's really good, but I've never even been in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a nice. I mean, it's a nightclub basically, but it's got multiple rooms in it.
Yeah, they're the best news, I think. That.
Yeah, no, no, they're really, I mean, all the gigs up north. I was saying this to the person I was interviewing, but all the gigs up north we had were really good. People were really good. On there, not to say the people down south weren't, but it was it was a different atmosphere up there. So
yeah, we find the south a lot more cliquey when we tour there. Like,
yes.
You know, like, I don't know, people generally turn up for the mates band and then leave, kind of thing. Not all the time, but just in our experience, and like, I don't know.
There are some exceptions, like Leicester and Southampton have always been fantastic. I don't know if you're South, but they've always been amazing for us. But in other places of the country, it's like Ryan says, it's a little bit like, oh, I'm seeing my mates and I'm off.
Yeah. No, Southampton was always good to us as well, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, it's certainly one of those things. There are certain areas where they turn up for their mate's band and leave, which is obviously what they were there for, and we kind of obviously were on the show, but I mean, it is what it is at that point, isn't it? So, But yeah, no, I was just harking. It's a nice little trip down memory lane. Actually, it's all coming back to me now. That's all good. Well, guys, I've got a couple of questions left for you, if that's all right. And I can let you get on with the rest of your day, if that's cool. Just make sure I got that there. Cool. So, what I want to find out is from each of you, what are your 3 most pivotal albums? So, the albums that kind of like made you want to sing, or made you think, I really want to be part of this scene or band or whatever. Those sort of like 3, if you can narrow it down to 3 pivotal albums.
That's a tough one, is that?
I have mine if you want to think while I talk.
Yeah, do you want to go for the
I've even got an order as well.
That's all right, cool.
So my number 1 quintessential album would be En Shikari, Take to the Skies. Like, nice. That to me is just the reason why I'm probably doing music, to be honest. Like, it inspired me to sort of get into it. You know, I remember hearing it back in the day and just thinking, wow, like, how can you create that kind of fusion between trance and, you know, spoken word sections and heavy breakdowns and, you know, and beautiful cleans. After that, it's probably Suicide Season by Suicide Silence by Bring Me to the Horizon. And just like the vocals on that, and that just gets you rocking the entire time. And then the first metal album I ever listened to was Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavoured Water Limp Biscuit, and just the whole groove of that, man, that just gets me going.
Nice. No, those are fantastic albums. I mean, Take to the Skies, I love that. I had actually name drop had Raoul on the show recently.
Oh wow!
To promote their new album that they just released, which is actually really good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Take to the Skies. That was sort of, it was a very I'd say iconic movement at that point when they released that, because it was very, I mean, they still are very DIY as well. And it was, I mean, being like back then, they one of their first London shows, they supported my band. They were on their own tour with another band called First Signs of Frost, and yeah, watching them live back then, because obviously the DJ in the band had all the electronic gizmos and samplers and stuff on my setup, but actually watching them using I think it was like a Korg microtronic thing.
Right. Yeah,
and just watching them live, because I'd heard the demo, or I'd heard Sorry You're Not a Winner, and you know, and all the buzz that was going on around them, and they were fantastic. We played, it was upstairs at the garage, which is a tiny part of it, and like since then, just sort of like watching them go from there and rise and they're still going now, you know, they're still rising now, there's still room for them to go, you know, up. And no, it's I mean, that album is fantastic. Bring Me the Horizon, yeah, it's a good album as well. I don't have any interesting stories about them. And obviously Limp Bizkit, that was a given our earlier conversation about new metal. Yeah, I mean, like DJ Lethal, stuff like that, sort of being a DJ in a metal band as well. It was him and Sid and DJ Life and Kilgore in Incubus and stuff like that. So
nice, good choice.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And next, if you've
got
anything.
Yeah, it's a real difficult one. I'm going to go with the ones which kind of are why I'm listening to songs that I'm involved with it. So I'd probably, a bit of wild card, I'd probably say As Daylight Dies by Killswitch Engage.
Nice.
And that was because, like, I think I was only about 16, 17 at the time. And I liked kind of rock music and the lighter side of metal.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just can't get past the screaming. I don't like it. But then I remember hearing My Curse by Killswitch Engage and was like, no idea why I'm in love with this song. It just kind of went from there. I was like, I don't know what it is about this song, but I love it. And then I ended up listening to the album and I was like, this is sick. So then I ended up getting into kind of heavy music from that album, really. I'm probably going to have to go with Hybrid Theory as well, because it's one of the first kind of metal albums that I've listened to.
Yeah.
Before metal, I was into like classic rock and Indian stuff, but then I think as a consistent album, Hybrid Theory was the first kind of heavy album that I enjoyed every track of.
Cool.
Because you go through a lot of albums where it's like, I like half of it and stuff, but I think from start to finish, Hybrid Theory, I was like, oh my God, this is good.
Nice.
And then probably this was probably more later on when just before we'd started this band, I listened to Hope and Hindrance by Heart of a Coward, and I was just like, you know, like there's a sound that you've not really heard before.
Yeah. Like
obviously it was quite a big thing at the time. This is back in like 2012, maybe 11, was it? Yeah. And it was. I was like, this is great. I want to do this.
It's the sound we want to play.
Yeah, I was like, nice. I want my band to sound like this, so I started writing stuff like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, again, those albums, Killswitch Engage, again, fantastic. Like, they kind of have that great kind of like gateway effect for
it is a gateway.
Like yourself, you couldn't get past, like, say, the screaming or whatever, but because of the sort of vocal style of that band, it crosses so many lines, and it really does speak to a lot of people on that front. And I don't know how, like, it went out of like it didn't become as big as it did, but their new album where they've got both Jesse and oh God, what's his name? Howard. That's it. For some reason I was thinking Nick, because I think it's Howard Jones, Nick Kershaw. Anyway, but yeah, I was like, I am that old. But yeah, no, it's like just like that song alone. Like, I mean, I love Killswitch, but that was just like proper goosebumps for me. recently.
Yeah,
like it's a long time. It hasn't happened in a while when I've heard music to get like that. But having both of them on there, and I was like, fucking yes.
Yeah,
So,
and especially Jesse returning is a bit of a throwback because I got into like the pre-Howard albums as well. And I used to really like it. So when Jesse came back for the new stuff, I was like, oh, this is cool.
It's a nice edge, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. And Hybrid Theory, I mean, like, again, like seeing this album being as sort of like influential as it is now was crazy because I was like, when I was younger, like the rule of cool was you didn't like them. Just it happens, you know, and over time, obviously, I appreciate them. I like I said, I've DJ'd metal clubs for a longest time, and I can see exactly why it gets the dance floor full. And then like over time, you sort of like, you know, you do like, you know, you gravitate towards it and you become a bit more of a fan. And it was kind of like I wish I was a bit more of a fan then because I did see them live at that point as well, but I was very dismissive of them, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, sometimes when you've got like an opinion of a band in your head, sometimes you just can't get it out, can you?
Yeah. It's exactly that, and it's that kind of like, it's this annoying rule of cool thing that I had when I was younger, which obviously everyone does, I think, at some point, but it was just like, I wish I could have appreciated it more, because I saw him on a really good bill. I saw him with, it was like Deftones, Linkin Park, and I want to say Disturbed or something, like the ultimate in nu metal bill.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's pretty solid.
And Linkin Park were opening, I think, and it was just like, it was like that kind of like, holy shit. But yeah, no, I mean now over time, you know, I'd listen to them, and you know, and they're a good band. They make consistent bangers, I think is the word.
Yeah, it's smart music. It's written for purpose, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, last question, guys. What are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not writing and performing and whatnot, like kind of what we are now, what do you guys do to kind of like either get away from it or you know, have a sort of like a passion for something else?
Do you want to go first, Jack?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my whole core of, you know, like the hobby just starts and ends with music, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know, a little bit one track there, but yeah, I'm a bit of an avid gardener at the minute, and that's been quite nice during the off season of lockdown, which has been beautiful. Massively into my wrestling, as I say, but I don't know, just anything that I can do that's remotely creative. Like I used to be a lot more sort of involved when we were sort of doing it a little bit more DIY in the video production side of what we did. You know, I did a couple of music videos for us back in the day, and I guess that was, you know, my ulterior hobby. But yeah, it's just the music for me, man, and that sounds really artsy and really arty-farty. It's just the music, man.
It's all right. It's all right. If your hobby can become a profession, then that's even better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All I've ever said to myself is, if I can earn minimum wage doing this, then I've won.
Yeah, we've all said that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just imagine you on stage, like screaming with a watering can in your hand, just like gardening.
Water the flowers.
You go water lilies.
What about you, Raz?
As a kid and a teenager, I probably had other ones. I used to be quite into art. Like I used to do a lot of drawing and painting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teenager, I was massively into gaming. I still play a bit, but I don't know. I found myself just playing like PS1 and PS2 games now. I feel like as I've got older, I can't accept that new games are a thing. And like even like the games that I buy for the PS4 now are like Resident Evil remakes, which were when I were a kid. Maybe I'm clinging on to my youth too much. I don't know, but yeah, I used to be quite.
What are your hobbies? Just nostalgia.
Yeah, my hobby is nostalgia. Yeah, probably mainly music. Well, I guess I teach guitar as well on the side of work, but I guess that's classed under music as well, because I quite enjoy doing that. It's cool.
I think that because you get to this age, don't you, when, you know, we're both, well, you're late 20s, I'm early 30s, and when you start working and a band takes up as much time as it does, you know, it's hard to, you know, keep that going, let alone juggle, you know, any
like work takes up half your life, and then running a band takes the other half up. So
Yeah.
life is then consumed by what you're doing.
Yeah, and you do your best to just like get around with your mates and eat some pizza and that.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Good luck with your album.
Thank you.
And all that kind of good stuff. Hopefully, once this shitstorm blows over, I'll catch you guys live if you end up playing down this way.
Definitely, yeah.
And
We'll catch up.
Yeah, no, good luck with everything, man.
Thank you.
Mate,
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for having us on the show.
No worries, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
Very much.
Bye-bye.
Nice one, mate. Bye.
Bye.